Welcome back for another book review. Have I fixed the lighting problem? No. Another week has passed and I still haven't found a solution. So here we are. 2 videos this weekend. One's recorded over here, one's recorded in the usual spot, but the lighting progressively gets worse. This is video 2. I think you're seeing this one first though. Nobody cares about that. Anyways, let's talk about the book. So, Chakras and, I don't know how to say this, the vagus nerve? That's how I read it, but I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. Is it? I don't know. Tapping into the healing combination of subtle energy and your nervous system. This is by C.J. Llewelyn, and then they have a bunch of letters after their name. So this book is a new one from Llewelyn. Yeah, anyways. So this is a new book. The library just barely got this, and I was really timid about this. So the vagus nerve, whatever, was mentioned a bit in the book Your Body Keeps Score, The Body Keeps Score, something like that. Talked about that on Patreon, and this mentioned that, and I was very intrigued with combining that with the chakra system. And I was so pleasantly surprised how much I loved this book. So this talks about a bit of, again, that concept of the body keeps score, that your nervous system, like, as you've gone through, like, PTSD, traumatic experiences, like, your body remembers that, and, like, your nervous system will respond as such. So, like, if you have gone through a situation where your fight or flight kicked in, and then something triggers you with that, that system is, like, more ready to go, and is, like, more easily like, oh, we're online now. And she talks about in this book how there's, like, 3. There was one that I can't remember how it is, but it was, like, I kept reading it, but I know that's not the word. I was like, oh, it's the dolphin one. But, like, thinking dolphin, something. There's a system with that. There's one that is, like, your, I think it was, like, the sympathetic system or something. There's, like, 3 variations of what happens in your nervous system. And this book talks about those and how one is, like, panic mode. Like, fight or flight is on. We're ready to go. Are we running? Are we fighting? We're gonna find out. We're ready for either. And then the other one is, like, the depressive, like, shut down, where, like, you actively catch yourself, like, curled into a ball. You're trying to protect, like, your internal organs, just, like, as you're sitting there. Yes, I did get tired of the weird lighting, so now we have the orange lighting, because I got tired of that. Anyways, so it talks about these various systems and how your nerves and that nervous system, the vagus nerve, is basically, like, the mega nerve that goes from the back of your skull all the way down your spine. And different parts of it control different major parts of your body. So, like, some control, like, your lower gut system and, like, your digestive tract and all of that. Parts of it control, like, your breathing, your heart rate, and then others control, like, your facial expressions and, like, how you, like, perceive the world. So, like, if you see somebody obviously in distress, that system part kicks in and is like, we should be aware. This author compares that system to the chakras and how different parts of that nerve kind of line up with the chakras and the different points that are attached to it. Like, for people who deal with, like, anxiety, a lot of times it's going to affect your gut because people who deal with chronic anxiety know, like, you stress too much, your belly reacts, whether it's one way or the other. It's not happy with you. And so because of that, this book talks about how, okay, well, if that's, you know, connected to these organs, and if you look at the root chakra, a lot of those things could be attached to this, and, like, it goes through all of them. And, like, how each one is related to different organs and, like, different systems and how it works out. And, like, the connection was, like, eerily accurate. Like, I'm just sitting there going, no, but really, actually. And, like, the exercises she has you do in here line up so much with a lot of what you find in therapy. And again, the body keeps score. A lot of those were mentioned in here too. And, like, the premise is that, like, psychology is moving away from, like, talk therapy. That's still a part of it, but there's also a big, like, shift that's, like, moving to, like, your body being involved and, like, being aware of it and, like, making friends with your nervous system. And how, like, if you have a lot of, again, this is a book that's really good for, like, if you have, like, PTSD or things like that, where you struggle with a lot of things. This book, this is so good. Whether you have had one traumatic situation or multiple, like, this is the book for you. She talks about so many different things, and, like, it's so intriguing to think about, like how, and she talks about how like, which is another thing, that the chakras, while they are unique to their own thing, they're also still part of the same system, much like this nerve. So they all are affected in different ways when something happens. And in the same point, when you're healing them, like you still have to work on all of them, they all react differently. So this was like the kind of therapy that honestly, I wish there was a therapist here in Utah that did this form. This would have been more helpful, because like, there's just something about being told to walk. Just go for a walk. But it explains the why. And she talks about how it like, and again, a lot of it, it's like eerily so close to like the things from The Body Keeps Score and other books, I'm sure. But like, it's very like psychology based plus like New Age. It's like, it's a special kind of mix that I didn't think, I felt like it was like when I grabbed this, I figured it was gonna be some next level woo. And I didn't feel like it was, really. Like, it just made so much sense. And like, this idea of just the combining of like these therapeutic things with very like witchy, New Age, pagan, like not like secular things. Like, it's just, it's so, so good. Like, obviously, I loved this book. I think everybody should read through this at some point. There are exercises that go through each chakra, and then at the end there's a little bit on like how to like work with all of them. This was just like a really good book, honestly. Like, reading through this, it was just so good. It gave you so many ideas. It worked through so many different things. And again, working with the chakra system, it was like, really? Like, it makes you really intrigued. And like, it doesn't feel very like, because sometimes you can get into like appropriation with things, but this was, it didn't feel like it was. It's just like using the concept of the chakras and then expanding a little bit. Like, she includes a few others that aren't in the traditional 7. She includes one that's for your feet, and then there's one that I think she said it was from like Japan, that's like between the first and the second one, that has like its own deal going on. Like, it was a really good book. I really recommend this. I was really pleasantly surprised that I liked this so much, but it was so good. Like, it's one of those that I would absolutely love to work through this one, do all of the exercises, because like, I do that with a few of the books. I didn't actually anticipate this being one of those. Usually those I'm now kind of saving for Patreon, and then we just talk about it at some point. Like, I have one that I'm working through right now that'll be coming up in like 2 weeks. Basically, moral of the story, this was so good. If you are very intrigued with the idea of like how like the trauma-informed therapists handle things, but mixing in like a little bit of like some witchiness, and in the witchy sense of like your energy centers of the chakras, this is the book for you. Honestly, I think most witches, we're not usually like very sheltered people. We tend to just flock to each other, and we flock to this path. Like, it just, I've yet to find somebody who hasn't had something happen that finds this community. But like, maybe you exist. Congrats if you do. But for the most part, we have gone through something. Medical trauma, you know, abuse, like we have been, you know, through religious trauma. Like, there are just things that happen. You have a struggle of a life, and inevitably a lot of us tend to filter over into paganism, the big umbrella paganism. And like, mixing this stuff with like therapy, it's just, it's so good. And like, I read this, and then I read the book that I think you'll see after this, which is Soul Flow, and it was like, oh, this was really good. When you compare those two, you're like, oh no, I should have read this in reverse order, because I would have liked that one a lot more, because this one, it's just so well written. And sometimes you do need somebody that's got those extra letters after their name to really present the information. Like, obviously this person has done it. They've done the clinical work. They explain that even if they don't talk to their patients about the chakras, they still apply. They're still actively doing it. They're talking about certain things, and they're touching where that chakra point would be. And like, where they're feeling this like from is that chakra point. It lines up. Like, it is just so good. I think everybody should read this book. Maybe because my library has it, maybe yours will too. Again, it's a newer book, so theoretically it might be filtering in. But like, seriously, honestly, if you want to go buy a book, I would recommend this one. I thought it was really good. Again, I love the idea of having well researched from both perspectives. the research for the chakra system in like practicality and like in use too, not just from a book. And then like the clinical stuff, the therapy stuff, combining those, it was so good. So anyways, that's the premise of this book. Go buy it. So anyways, that's going to be it for this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.